Whenever Richard Cory went downtown, we people on the pavement looked at him. He was a gentleman from sole to crown, clean-favored and imperially slim. And he was always quietly arrayed, and he was always human when he talked. But still he fluttered pauses when he said good morning, and he glittered when he walked. And he was rich, yes, richer than a king, and admirably schooled in every grace. In fine, we thought that he was everything to make us wish that we were in his place. So on we worked and waited for the light, and went without the meat and cursed the bread. And Richard Cory, one calm summer night, went home and put a bullet through his head.
People often believe that money has a direct correlation to happiness. These beliefs led to the envy of Richard Cory and Jay Gatsby. Robinson states, in fine, we thought that he was everything, to make us wish that we were in his place. This line perfectly depicts how society views wealthy people. They believe that Richard Cory has everything and can do everything, thus making him everything. His lavish lifestyle causes them to believe that there are no faults in his life. The people around him have yet to notice that something is missing from his life, and this is something is greatly affecting his happiness. They are so clouded with jealousy that they fail to realize his deep unhappiness. People view Gatsby in a similar manner. The thousands that attend his luxurious parties loathe the fact that he can afford to throw them on a weekly basis. Gatsby is reckless with money, with expensive cars parked outside his massive mansion in whence he lives alone. His habit of needlessly spending money fuels the jealousy further as he is viewed as being flashy and arrogant. Both men have their personal lives overlooked in the eyes of those around them. These people are blinded by money and leave Richard Cory and Gatsby alone in their enormous homes. It often comes as a shock to people when someone of a higher class displays typical human characteristics. In Richard Cory, Robinson says, and he was always human when he talked, with a shocking tone, as if his wealth overpowers his emotions. He displays happy emotions, despite his sadness within. Richard does such a good job of portraying a happy person that people envy him for his perfect life, but they do not see through his lies into what hides beneath, his incurable sadness. True happiness comes from things you cannot write a check for, and Richard learns this the hard way. But the people who envy his life and keep a watchful eye on him fail to see that his smile is false, and his money can only buy so much. Those who know Gatsby are similar of the same crime. Jay Gatsby is gifted with the incredible talent of deception, and does not let his gift go to waste. He begins to get caught in his enormous web of lies. I think he hardly knew what he was saying, says Nick. He lies about his upbringing and how he currently makes money, but his compulsive lying does not end there. Gatsby lies about his true happiness not only to those around him, but to himself. He has become so talented in the art of deception that he has deceived himself. Gatsby believes that it is sane to constantly live seeking approval from one person, seeking true love and happiness that one so desperately needs. Gatsby strings a web of lies and becomes so immersed in his lies that he becomes a lie himself. He hides his sadness in impulse purchases and parties crowded with unfamiliar faces. Regardless of their luxurious lives, which were envied by many, both of these men were victims of tragedy. The lack of true love in their lives left too big of a hole to be patched up with money. These men suffered through their loneliness and died without leaving many weeping. The luxurious lives they lived become less appealing with the realization that money does not fuel the heart the way love does. Gatsby was striving to become a whole person, filled with real emotions as opposed to lies. His unsuccessful attempt at happiness left him dead, without his beloved by his side. Gatsby paid the ultimate price as Daisy let him take the fall for her crime. She left him for dead, unloved and alone. Daisy was a massive part of Gatsby's life, but failed to live up to the flawless image he believed her to be. The lyrical content of I Don't Love You Anymore by Real Friends looks back on a past relationship which reflects the one of Daisy Buchanan and Jay Gatsby.
I can't believe you've got the nerve to say you love me, then you left me for dead. I don't love you anymore, I hope you're happy, since I don't know you anymore. You were a part of me, and now you're just nothing but a memory. No matter how bad I want you in my bed, I know that you found somebody else to be there for you. I'll keep sleeping sideways in my empty bed to fill up the lonely space. I'm just a kid with too much lonely space. Just like the pictures that you take, I'm nothing but something that once was, like colors that fade away in the sunlight. They're nothing special like they used to be. They're gone and they're never coming back. No, they're never coming back. I'm gone and I'm never coming back. No matter how bad I want you in my bed, I know that you found somebody else to be there for you. I'll keep sleeping sideways in my empty bed to fill up the lonely space. I'm just a kid with too much lonely space. I woke up today and realized that what we had is dead. I'm just a pile of lifeless bones to you. I spent too many years thinking about somebody that doesn't even think about me. Thinking about somebody that doesn't even think about me. Thinking about somebody that doesn't even think about me. No matter how bad I want you in my bed, I know that you found somebody else to be there for you. I'll keep sleeping sideways in my empty bed to fill up the lonely space. I'm just a kid with too much lonely space.
During his time spent fighting in the war, Gatsby often let his mind wander to Daisy and undoubtedly remains truthful to their past relationship in hopes of returning to the same girl he left behind. While Gatsby was out fighting for his country and his life, Daisy met the man who would become her husband, Tom Buchanan. I spent too much time thinking about somebody that doesn't even think about me portrays Gatsby's unwavering love towards Daisy. 5 years after they broke apart, she was the only girl on his mind, but the same cannot be said for Daisy. She fell in love with Tom and the life he could provide for her and left Daisy behind. I Keep Sleeping Sideways in My Empty Bed to Fill the Lonely Space reflects back to Richard Cory by Edwin Arlington Robinson. Both Richard Cory and Jay Gatsby were lonely in their massive homes. Their loneliness derived from the lack of love in their lives. The lyric shows how desperate one can be to feel whole again, just as Gatsby was desperate for Daisy to fill the lonely hole in his chest. Gatsby lives in a home with more space than anyone could ever need. In this song he says, "'Cause I'm just a kid with too much lonely space." This represents the emptiness that Gatsby is constantly surrounded by in his home and in his heart. Gatsby hopes to return home to Daisy and rekindle their love as if no time has passed. But instead, Gatsby returns home to a married Daisy. I hope you're happy because I don't know you anymore shows how a person can change after a relationship, just as Daisy did. He held a perfect image of Daisy in his mind throughout the war, but she was not the same Daisy she was 5 years ago. Nevertheless, he wishes her all the happiness, but refuses to believe she can truly be happy without him. Gatsby revolved all major decisions around Daisy, even though they weren't together anymore. "You were a part of me, but now you're just nothing but a memory," shows how Gatsby is still viewing Daisy as if she were in the past. He's holding on tightly to the memory of her and fails to realize that she may not be the person he fell so deeply in love with 5 years ago.
The luxurious lives lived by the upper class prove to be less appealing than they seem. Fancy cars and walls riddled with world-renowned art cannot fill the emptiness inside a person. The lack of true love in the lives of Richard Cory and Jay Gatsby lead to their loneliness and leave them deeply unhappy. Their incredible wealth left their emotions to be overlooked by those around them. Daisy left Gatsby behind with an empty heart and home. She spent years in his mind. She captivated him, then left him for dead. Gatsby's unwavering love for Daisy caused him to live in the past. He clutched onto a memory of loving her 5 years ago. The image he had of her developed over the years to become something so incredible, not even the person this idea was modeled after could live up to. Due to the corrupt idea of the American dream and his fantasy of Daisy, Gatsby is left to live an empty life.